grab it here. Sad to inform that my ZyXEL NAS has gotten sick, so I thought we'd go through this case. Maybe that will help others that have a similar type of unit. So let's get started. So I thought I'd share a few pictures that I took from the screen. This is what it looks like when you log in to the NAS itself. So then it says, oh, it's degraded. And it also says here volume is degraded, so okay, got this problem. But then when you go here, then it says that all disks are valid. And then when you go here, then it says there's no, because I cleared the log and used it for a while until it got that situation again. But as you see, that there's no log entry that says that there's any issue with the disk. So somehow this system is not reacting correctly. So anyway, I had an idea. Okay, I really need to get a bit concerned about this unit. So I started backing files up, and I used the Windows 11 utility robocopy, which actually has, for example, nice features like that you can set it how many times it's going to retry, and then you can have a delay between the attempts. But anyway, so as we see, I just clipped the relevant parts from the log, so it was copying files, and then suddenly it get an unexpected network error occurred, and then it continues copying, and then a network error, and then it, as you see, then it's been like, oh, create a new file, yeah, but then it's going to randomly retry on certain files. But ultimately, I was successful in getting a backup copy. And then the other thing is that even before trying this robocopy, the issue was that when I was trying to copy files to the NAS or taking them off the NAS, then there was inconsistent read-write performance. So anyway, I spent a little bit of time thinking, and then I kind of concluded in my brain that it can't really be the disk. It's probably because it's getting rather old, that it's something in the motherboard, memory, some I/O corruption or something. But anyway, see what I did next. So anyway, I'll be making a separate video about this specific unit, but anyway, for the purposes of this video, the only thing that's interested is a box, and it can NAS box, and it can, as you see, it can take 4 hard drives. So basically, I transplanted the hard drives into this unit. Now, this unit in itself has no operating system; it's just a blank unit. But on the other side of this unit, there's actually a place where you can plug in a USB thumbnail or a flash memory card, from which you can boot whatever you want. So what I did is I did a quick configuration on this to enable the disks to be visible directly to the operating system, so-called pass-through of this other drives. Otherwise, because it has a RAID controller built in. And then I put a system called ESOS, which is Enterprise Storage OS, on a thumb drive, and then booted up the system with the disks installed. So what we're going to now look at is we're not going to use anything else in the ESOS except for the console session. So I'm going to show you how you can actually check the drives. And actually the device you put the drives in, it could be a normal PC or whatever and one drive at a time, or you can just have any other server that supports other disks and install all of them at the same time. It really doesn't matter. And these same commands will work on that platform also, because the ESOS is Linux based. So and if you don't want to use ESOS, you can actually boot from pretty much any Linux sort of instant boot solution. But I found ESOS to be good because it's actually intended to handle block storage sharing on the enterprise. So it's the ESOS is built for sharing, block sharing from disks. So it's basically everything else, all the other functionalities doesn't exist on in ESOS. So it's kind of a clean subsystem from that perspective. But it only handles disks. But anyway, let's just see what it looks like. So anyway, when you log in, so the login the default is root and ESOS as the password. So then you get into this text-based interface, and there is one thing that I'd actually like to show you, because the NAS542 it seemingly uses Linux software RAID. So if you put the disks in the same order you had them in the 542, then you'll actually see the let's see here. You'll see the disks configured here. So you can actually, and then just as a hint, you can actually remove the array also from using directly those menu options. But let's say that you have a very corrupt situation, then this system will not recognize the software RAID configuration, especially if there's like the sort of config blocks are corrupt, and it won't show you anything. So what you want to do is you want to just go to the interface, and then you want to go to the shell. So then basically you're in a Linux shell, and I'll just walk through the different commands you can give, and I'll also put this in the comments. So if we use this BLK, then it will show all the disks. Now the SDA is the my boot USB with the ESOS system on it. So that's why it has, the main disk is SDA, and it has 4 partitions. And those other disks, B, C, D, E, are the disks that I got from NAS542. Now, if you just take them raw from 542, then you'll actually get, also it will show partitions, weird named partitions, and a weird hierarchy on those disks. And that's the actual software, Linux software RAID implementation. But I've already zapped these disks so that they don't show anything. And then you can see that it actually will go through the fdisk slash L will go list all the partitions on the disks. And as you see, it doesn't contain any valid partition. But if you have clean disks from the NAS542, then it will actually show the partitions. Let's see. Now, basically, if you've got a messed up system, if you think that the software RAID is all totally screwed up, really messed up, and you want to erase it, then you can use this DD F. I'm using STX, so this will be like X you replace with B, C, D, so you can basically have all the files, all the disks. what makes it difficult is the yeah, when you're using this operating system, it has no keyboard, by default the keyboard mapping is US English, so I'm using a Scandinavian keyboard layout, so it makes it a bit difficult to get the right keys. But anyway, you can use DD to like zero the config information on the disk. So that you wipe out all remnants of the software array configuration. And then there's also another command you could use, which is the actual software, because this also has all the software array commands actually in this ESOS. Again, X is C, D, and E. So you can use the software array command to say, okay, you want to get rid of the superblock definition from the disk, like wipe the software array configuration completely. And actually, this is useful also if you're going to replace disk. Like the system is corrupted, like on the NAS542, the software array system got corrupted due to the fact that a disk actually has failed or something gets screwed up. Then you can actually zero the software array configuration on all the other disks. So if you're going to reuse them, then they're clean. And now you can move on once you've actually, if you want to clean them, then you can use those commands. But let's say that I did the cleaning, so I didn't even try and keep the data. But then I started running the commands where you can actually identify if the disks are okay or not. So you can actually interact with the smart diagnostic software on the hard drive. So you use this one. No, there was one command. So if you actually want to really make sure that the software RAID config is gone, proc. So here we can actually see that there's no configuration, at least not recognized by the enterprise OS. And then okay, and then we can go on to the smart. We're going to take all this now. So now I can, because this is a read-only operation, so it doesn't actually change anything. I didn't run those other commands because I already zeroed the disks. I actually ran all I ran all the zeroing function. I ran DD, mdadm, and yeah, so to really make sure that it killed there. So anyway, here we can see if there's any logs, because what this smart diagnostics will do on the disk, it will actually log if there are any errors on the disk or not. see no errors logged. There's a bit of information in the beginning, but that's not so important. As you see, there's no errors. E. And then here you see, you start getting issues. And when this was clean and when I hadn't tried to run the next command that I'm going to show you, then it actually was giving read errors, or was saying that there are errors on the disk, or errors happening on this disk. Now, if it starts getting errors, then what you can do is you can actually enhance the error detection on the disk by actually commanding the disk to run testing. I won't do it because it actually takes, the long test takes a lot of time, and even the short test takes a lot. And again, whatever disk you want to run it. So this will be the so-called short test as defined by the smart diagnostics firmware. And then if you want to run another test, and basically based on what information I have, is that if you run the long test, then it will actually try and force the smart logic diagnostics to actually mark things as being corrupted and stuff. But in my case, as you see in the message that was reported, it actually quit after only 10% of the analysis, just saying that there's read failures. So it was a little bit inconclusive of what that actually means. My interpretation is that it's kind of interpreting this disk as being a hopeless case, and it's just giving up after 10% and just quitting. So there's the two tests that are run, the extended offline and the short offline. So it quit after 40% of the short test, and then after 10% of the long test. So I think yeah. Okay, so that was that one. And then if you want to look at the results, then it's just to use this A command again on the same disk, and then you get the actual. It will try and give you the log after it has run through. And as I said, the long test, if it would have been left to run, I think it takes more than 6 hours to run on the 2 terabyte disk. And there's another command you can use to actually do testing on another level. You can do badblocks. This I actually didn't run, so I'm not sure if it actually works. But same thing with this, so you can actually use this format or this command to do bad block testing. As I said, depending on how one reads info from the net and AI assistants and stuff, then how should you conclude from the results of this, for example, this test? And I'm going to summarize basically that if disk found with many errors, replace it. That's my interpretation of the findings that I made on the disk. So basically, so what I'm going to do is basically I'm going to replace the offending disk, and I'm going to put in another disk. This is also a used disk. I actually purchased a really low but really good price on these. Come on, Well, maybe they're fake. But I'm going to put that in the array, and then I'm going to run this same analysis and see what we get. Yeah, so I'll just get to work with that and come back with the result. I'll show you what the scan looks like with that new old disk installed. Let's hope it actually works. So anyway, it's the STE is the new disk, and it seems like it's got a partition on it placed, so that's something, so it's recognized. So now I'm going to zero this disk, the STE disk, with the first method. So let's double check there's no RAID metadata. No md-superblock detect, so that's good. So that's now should be considered a clean disk. So let's see what the smart diagnostic says. So where is logged, no self-diagnostics has been executed. And then it's the same metadata at the beginning, that doesn't mean much. So that looks like we have a valid fourth disk, theoretically. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to reinstate the NAS542 with all its 4 disks, with this one swapped out, and then see if it actually can start working again. So what we'll see is I actually forgot to record the sequence, but I mean I connected it to the network and then to the power, and then I waited. I give it 5 minutes, and you'll hear a beep when it's kind of ready. And then you can access it with the browser with the same address that you had before, so it doesn't seem to lose. It actually doesn't lose the user settings or the initial configuration you set up. But however, it does recognize that you have, like in my case, they were completely clean disks. So then it actually pops up with a dialog just saying, how do you want to, you need to create first, before you can use the system, you need to create a volume, and then you just say yes, and then it says, okay, what kind of volume do you want to create? Do you want to do a group volume or one volume? And then it asks you what RAID configuration you want to have. So I used let's see here, if we go to, so I used one big volume and RAID 5, and I didn't use this disk group because I'm not going to expand this, because it's 2 terabyte disks and 4 of them. So, and then the only thing I had to do was I had to go into the where you have the disk shares, and I actually had to delete the. Let's see if I can find it again. Here, the control panel and then shared folders. So I had this was actually called my name, and it was disabled, and there was no way to reactivate it. So basically, I had to delete this and then recreate it. That was pretty much everything. And then it, when it actually created the volume, then it wanted to reboot the NAS, so then it rebooted after the volume creation. But and then it seems to have saved the firmware was still up to date, and as I said, the users were. Not that I have many users. It still kept the user and stuff. So, and now I'm just going to start copying files and see if it's stable. But I would be very surprised if it caused any issue. But since we have the power of YouTube here, I'm going to just I'll pop back and say what I found when I started copying lots of files. So let's see how this goes. So that was 6 hours of copying, and as you see, quite a lot of files and folders. So I think that we can conclude this. We also tried to go in, copy the files from the NAS, and that seemed to work. Did some random tries. So anyway, I think we fixed the NAS and it's up and running. So anyway, hope this video was useful. Hope anybody out there has similar problems to diagnose it, and see you in the next one.